My predictions for this year. Last year I messed up pretty bad. I'm going to try not to do that 2 years in a row. So starting with the New York Jets, I have winning 3 games, losing 14. I think the Jets are a pretty bad team. The offensive line of the team looks like a strength. And actually on offense, they have several players that I like, even on Garrett Wilson and the tight end they just drafted. Brees Hall is running back. They've got some weapons on offense. I just don't like any quarterback they have on the roster. I think it's going to take this team some time to compete. The Patriots have winning 7, losing 10. They're better on both sides of the ball than last year, but this is still not a contending team. Vrabel is a better coach than they've had in a while. Probably the best coach they've had since Belichick left. Miami Dolphins have winning 8 games, losing 9. Their defensive line looks like one of the best defensive lines in the NFL. The rest of the team, though, looks pretty bad, except for wide receiver. Tua is decent when he's healthy, but he can't stay healthy. That's a problem. And then, of course, the Buffalo Bills. I have winning 16 games, losing 1. They look like a very, very strong team. Unlike last year, I think that they were a great team last year, but I assume they wouldn't be. I'm not getting that wrong twice in a row. I think the Bills are really good. Next, I'll cover AFC North. The Browns, I have winning 1 game, losing 16. They just look awful. A train wreck this year. Not much else to be said. The Cincinnati Bengals, I am not as high on them as most people are. I have them winning 6 games, losing 11. The offense is strong, except for the important exception being the offensive line, which looks weak. That could be an issue. And the defense is just still pretty terrible. Other than Trey Hendrickson, they don't have that many good players on defense. And then I'm much higher on the Pittsburgh Steelers than most people are. Spoiler alert, I don't think the Steelers will be in the Super Bowl. I'm not saying the Steelers are going to the Super Bowl, but I do think they're going to be a much better team than most people think. Basically, the Steelers have a lot in common this year with the Broncos team that won the Super Bowl. I'm not saying the Steelers will win the Super Bowl, but they have things in common with the Broncos team that won the Super Bowl in 2015. Both of them have a quarterback that was great in his prime, but on their last year, I think this is Aaron Rodgers' last year. Peyton Manning was carried by the defense. I expect the defense to carry Aaron Rodgers. He'll get a much better defense in Pittsburgh than he did in New York last year. The Steelers' offensive line, I think, will be better this year than it has been in a long time. DK Metcalf and Jonnu Smith are good options to throw to. So the Steelers are actually a stronger team, I think, than most people will expect. Still not a Super Bowl team, but a strong playoff team. I have them winning 13, losing 4. The Ravens, which I'm just going to say, spoiler alert, will be the team to win the Super Bowl this year. I see them as the best team in the NFL. I have them winning 15, losing 2. They're stacked with talent on both sides of the ball. Their defense was already great. They added J.R. Alexander and Starks, I think was his last name, their first round pick. They have hands down the best secondary in the NFL. In the second round, they drafted a pass rusher. I forget his name, but he's a first-round talent, only fell in the second round because of character concerns. If he can stay out of trouble, he's going to be a great asset to the pass rush. Their offense was already great. They added DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins is not the player he used to be, but as a third option, he makes their wide receiving corps exceptionally deep. The Ravens are the most complete team. That's why I have them winning the Super Bowl. And then AFC South, the Titans, despite having a new quarterback, I still see as a very bad team, winning 1, losing 16. Cam Ward hasn't looked that great in the preseason. Even if he has a bright future ahead of him, I don't think it's going to happen this season. The team just doesn't have enough talent around him to help him succeed. The roster has too many weaknesses. The Texans I see as a team doing much worse than most people expect. I have them winning 3 games, losing 14. I just don't see the biggest problem for the Texans is their offensive line is going to be even worse than it was a year ago. And that's going to have Stroud running for his life. The defense is good, but not as good enough. I see them pretty bad team. Colts, I see winning 5, losing 12. Their quarterback position for the Colts is very legitimate concern. I mean, not good. Daniel Jones, not a good quarterback. Anthony Richardson, not a good quarterback. The most important position in the game is quarterback. And I don't like their quarterback situation at all. It's one of the worst in the league. With that being said, the rest of the roster, except for quarterback, looks pretty strong, in my opinion. And then this is the one that's going to shock everyone. And I'm probably going to get this wrong, but I have the Jaguars winning 15 and losing 2. They just benefit from an easy schedule. I think Travis Hunter is going to be phenomenal. They have some talent, some weapons on both sides of the ball. The offensive line is an area of concern for the Jaguars, in my opinion, but the rest of the roster is generally solid for the most part. And then AFC West, the Chargers, I think, is way, way, way worse than what most people think. I have them winning 1 and losing 16. I think they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league. They had a great offensive lineman. They lost him. Khalil Mack, another year older. Joey Bosa, gone. This Chargers team is too weak in the trenches, which I value the trenches, to come up with a lot of these predictions. I don't see the Chargers being much of a threat to almost anyone. And then the Las Vegas Raiders, I think, will do better than they've been in the past, although especially with their new players. Pete Carroll as the head coach, Geno Smith. They brought in some talent. And of course, their new running back out of the first round, that's expected to be great. Beast Mode 2.0. With that being said, I see the Raiders winning 9 games and losing 8. I'm pretty sure that's an improvement from where the Raiders were last year, but this is still not a contending team. And then the Chiefs, I see winning 11 games, losing 6. And why do the Chiefs lose so many games? I have them losing most of the games they lose. I have them losing earlier in the season because their wide receiver, I think his name was Rice, their star wide receiver is out. That's going to hurt. But still, I expect this Chiefs team to turn it on in the second half of the season and accumulate a lot of wins. And then the number one team in the NFL for this season, not number one team in AFC West, I should say, is the Denver Broncos. I have them winning 14, losing 3. Sean Payton is a good coach. He was worth. The Russell Wilson trade was a disaster. The trade for Sean Payton was not. He's a legitimately good coach. Bo Nix is a good quarterback. They've got the best defense they've had since the 2015 season. Arguably the best defense in the NFL. If not the best, then at least one of the best. playing in Denver is particularly hard for opponents. They're going to be really hard to beat there. So I see Denver going a long way. I don't see them beating the Ravens, but just about anybody else, generally, they can beat. Okay. Now for the NFC East, for the NFC conference. Started with the NFC East. Bottom is going to be the Cowboys. I have them winning 4, losing 13. I just don't have much faith in this Cowboys team, particularly after they're losing Micah Parsons. The offense could actually be good. They've got some weapons this year. CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, who is a better second wide receiver than anyone they had last year. The offensive line could be coming along. The Cowboys' offense generally looks good, but the defense looks so atrociously bad that's going to cost them games. New York Giants, I have winning 6 games, losing 11. Their quarterback play, if Jackson Dart starts, but even if he doesn't, even Russell Wilson, either way, their quarterback play is going to be better than it was a season ago. And that's possibly the best defensive line in the NFL. The roster is far from complete. That's why I'm losing so many games, but they'll still be a much better team to watch than last year. Commanders, I have winning 11, losing 6. Jaden Daniels, at least from his rookie season, is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, like top 5. The roster still has some weaknesses, though, so I still have them losing 6 games, but they're not a team to sleep on, unlike last year, because we all know how good Jaden Daniels is. And then the Eagles, number 1, of course, have them winning 12 games, losing 5. They lost 2 important players on their defensive line. I expect their defense to go down because of that. But this is still a good team. Not as good defensive line as last year, but other than that, it's pretty much the same team. And then NFC North, I'll save the best for last. NFC North is the best in the NFC to talk about. NFC West is a very close division. The Rams, I have winning 9, losing 8. The offensive line has some questions. Matthew Stafford, their quarterback, has some health concerns. If their key players can stay healthy and do well, then this Rams team is strong, but they're not good at depth. That's my main concern for the Rams. The Seahawks, as you know, my team, I have winning 10 and losing 7. So we're an above average team, especially the defense, I think, can be really special. But the offense, Sam Darnold, I think, is not as good as Geno Smith. The offensive line will be better than last year, but still below average. At wide receiver, we've got worse. Cooper Kupp is a great player, but he's not in his prime anymore. He's a downgrade at this point in his career from DK Metcalf. I think the offense is going to be a problem, even if the Seahawks defense will be great. 49ers are next. I have going 11-6. Winning 11, losing 6. They've got some pretty good players on both sides of the ball. They've got their defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh, back. Strong, above average team. I don't see them as Super Bowl contenders, but they'll be contending at least for a spot in the playoffs. And then number 1, this is going to surprise people, and I'm not a Cardinals fan, but I'm being realistic with these predictions, not being a homer. I have the Cardinals winning 13, losing 4. The Cardinals head coach is a former defensive coordinator for the Eagles, and he understands the importance of building in the trenches. This Cardinals defensive line is stronger than it's been in a very long time. Their second round cornerback, I don't remember his name off the top of my head. He was getting comparisons to Richard Sherman in training camp in the preseason. He looks great. Their defense looked like it could be strong. The offense will be reasonably good, so they're a above average team. I'm not saying the Cardinals are going to the Super Bowl, but they're at least probably going to the playoffs. AFC South, the New Orleans Saints, I see it's the worst team in the NFL, going 0-17. Just terrible, terrible team. Panthers, I see winning 2, losing 15. Even with Bryce Young getting better, and they've added him a weapon to throw to, this team overall is still really weak. I don't see him doing very well. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I see winning 12, losing 5. They're a very strong team. A lot of talent on both sides of the ball. The Falcons, I also see winning 12, losing 5. I like the Falcons' offense better than that of the Buccaneers. Although I think the Buccaneers' defense is better. It's really going to be a toss-up between Falcons and Buccaneers. My gut instinct says Falcons, but Buccaneers could win the division. I have both of those teams with the same record, 12-5. And then I did say I'd save the best for last. NFC North. The worst team I have being the Chicago Bears, winning 5, losing 12. But even the Bears, with that bad record, are still a much better team than they were a season ago. And much more watchable than they were a season ago. Even the worst team in NFC North, being the Bears, has some good players. I especially expect the Bears' offense to be pretty good. If the Bears' offense is not good, then that means Caleb Williams is the problem, because they've surrounded him with a lot of talent. Next is Minnesota Vikings. I have winning 9, losing 8. The offense, the talent around J.J. McCarthy on offense is amazing. That's arguably the best offense in the game, in the NFL, for any team on offense. The most loaded offense is what he has to work with, J.J. McCarthy. The defense is more susceptible. I think the defense overperformed last year. I'm more concerned with the defense. The defense will be okay, but not as good as last year. I expect regression on defense. And then for 1 and 2, Packers and Lions, I actually have them both having the same record, 14-3. I have the Packers at number 1, just from doing better in the division. But it's really a toss-up between the Packers and Lions. I think pretty evenly of both of those teams for the most part. Generally, I think that Packers probably have the better defense, and the Lions probably have the better offense. But overall, the two teams are pretty equal. Before the Micah Parsons trade, I had the Lions winning the division, but after the Packers got Parsons, that changes it. I have the Packers representing the NFC in the Super Bowl, but losing to the Ravens. I'm going to post 2 links that show my predictions in that regard. That's everything. Have a nice day.